Hello everyone, today we will be breaking down the teaser trailer for House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel. But before that, like the video, helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada, let's get to it. The first thing we see is Rhaenyra Targaryen at Dragonstone. She is overlooking the sea. Rhaenyra will be one of the main characters in House of the Dragon. She is also the heir to the Iron Throne. We then hear a voiceover in the background. It says, "What is this brief mortal life if not the pursuit of legacy?" It's hard to say who is speaking here, but the point of the phrase is, will people remember you? What is the legacy you will leave behind? So similar to what Tywin Lannister believed. The next shot we see is of Daemon Targaryen carrying a dragon egg with his confidant / lover Mysaria with a force of gold cloaks at his back. Daemon Targaryen was the commander of the gold cloaks for a stint of time. The gold cloaks are the police force in King's Landing. Daemon and Mysaria look to be trying to leave the city. They are confronted by Otto Hightower, who is the hand of the king to Viserys Targaryen, Daemon's older brother. He has two Kingsguard members with him. I believe the person on the left is Harold Westerling, who is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. At least that is what I think. I can't tell with the helmet on. The person on the right is Criston Cole, who is also a member of the Kingsguard and plays quite the role in the show. They are here to stop Daemon. He wants to give this dragon egg to Mysaria, and his brother, King Viserys, is not happy about it, which is why he sent such a force to retrieve it. In the next scene, we finally get to see a dragon and a Targaryen riding it over King's Landing. We see the Red Keep in the background. It's hard to say who this is. If I had to guess, it would be Syrax, and Rhaenyra is the rider. Syrax has yellow scales, and the dragon is a golden yellow color. We then get a shot of the throne room filled with people. We have King Viserys sitting on the throne, and his firstborn Rhaenyra standing in front of him. We then hear some of the High Lords of Westeros, Rickard Stark, who we don't see, Corlys Velaryon, and Bormund Baratheon swearing loyalty to King Viserys and Rhaenyra, which, as I stated before, is his heir to the Iron Throne. This is the first time that a woman was going to be the heir to the Iron Throne, and Viserys wanted to make sure the other lords swore their loyalty to her. This is a cool little detail, but if you look at Rhaenyra's necklace, you see the Targaryen sigil in the middle, but in the other bands, you see some of the other sigils from the great houses, like the one on the back is from House Martell. Now, you may also notice this looks different from the Rhaenyra we saw earlier in the trailer. This is correct, this is the younger version of Rhaenyra. So there will be at least two timelines happening in the show. You may also notice how the Iron Throne looks different compared to the one we saw in Game of Thrones. This is much more accurate to what George R.R. Martin had envisioned the Iron Throne would look like. Though it's not exactly it, it's a happy medium between the show and what it's supposed to look like in the book. In the next shot, we see Daemon leading the Gold Cloaks, and they start beating up some people. It's hard to say what this is about. We hear Rhaenys in the background telling a young Rhaenyra that men would sooner put the realm to the torch than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne. Rhaenys is known as the queen that never was, so she knows what she is talking about. Rhaenys was passed over for her cousin Viserys Targaryen, Rhaenyra's father, even though she had a better claim to the throne since her father was older than Viserys's. Her father was Aemon Targaryen, the firstborn of King Jaehaerys, the Old King. But since Jaehaerys outlived his sons, a great council was held at Harrenhal, where they were going to decide who would ascend the Iron Throne after Jaehaerys, and Viserys was chosen by the High Lords of Westeros, mostly because he was a man. So basically, she's letting Rhaenyra know this isn't going to be easy. Some of the High Lords will plot and try to get someone else on the throne. We now return to the older Rhaenyra looking at the table map at Dragonstone. People who have watched Game of Thrones should be familiar with this. The people who are leaving are part of her war council. Remember that House of the Dragon is about the dance of the dragons, the Targaryen Civil War. And remember when I said some of the other High Lords might try and swindle Rhaenyra out of her birthright? Well, I wasn't joking. And we find out later in the trailer who is trying to do this. In the next shot, we see Harrenhal, but from the inside, one of the main keeps. People who have watched Game of Thrones may be familiar with this place since it was the place Arya, Hot Pie, and Gendry were prisoners in Season 2. It is also the place we got to see the Tywin and Arya scenes, which were fantastic. We never really got to see the castle though, and how crazy big it is. This shot really does it justice. Also, the reason why the castle is damaged is that Aegon the Conqueror melted it with dragon fire during his conquest. I believe this scene is the Great Council scene that I mentioned earlier, the one where they decided who would sit on the Iron Throne after Jaehaerys. So this is a flashback scene. It wouldn't surprise me if this is the cold open for the show, since it sets up a lot of things that happen in the Dance of the Dragons. We are going to see a lot of the High Lords arguing and debating who should succeed, so we may get to see some politics at play here as well. In the next shot, at Harrenhal, two people are carrying a heavy chest. It's hard to say what is in it. Could be dragon eggs, it could be gold. I would guess whatever is in the chest is important. In the next shot, we are back in King's Landing and we see Alicent Hightower, who is the daughter of the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower. This is a young Alicent. There is an adult one coming up in the trailer as well. We see her kiss Viserys on the cheek. After Viserys' wife and Rhaenyra's mother dies, he remarries Alicent. We then see a dragon egg over fire. They are trying to hatch it. We saw Daenerys do the same thing in season 1. We then see an adult Alicent with her father, Otto. Otto is telling her, "We play an ugly game. You have the determination to win it." So the one who is trying to steal the throne from Rhaenyra happens to be her stepmother, Alicent. She and Viserys had some kids who she would rather see sit on the Iron Throne than Rhaenyra. In the next shot, we see Corlys Velaryon and his family. He is married to Rhaenys Targaryen. Their son, Laenor, is between them, and Laena is to the right of Rhaenys. And the guy in the far left, I'm guessing, is a sibling of Corlys's. It is never said if he had any brothers or not. We now get to see a young Daemon Targaryen. He has much shorter hair. They probably did this just to make it easier for people to know what timeline we are in. He has a bit of a smile going on. I think he's smiling at Rhaenyra. He has always praised how beautiful she is, and Targaryens are a bit weird. To the right of him is Lyonel Strong, who is on the small council and is currently the Lord of Harrenhal. In the next shot, we see a young Rhaenyra and Laenor dancing. Now, to me, this looks like a wedding gown because it's white. She looks very dressed up right now. We then get a wide shot of the throne room and everyone starts cheering. I think this is from the same scene. I believe this is a wedding. You kind of see who is sitting at the high table in the background. We see Alicent, Otto, King Viserys, Corlys, and Rhaenys. In the next shot, we see a funeral service for House Velaryon. We never got to see this house in Game of Thrones, so we get to learn much more about them. Corlys is known as the greatest explorer Westeros has ever seen, so that means he sailed a lot. So having a coffin being submerged in the water makes a lot of sense for this house. Their seat is at Driftmark, which is an island somewhat near Dragonstone. We see a bunch of Targaryens at the funeral with their silver hair, and we see Corlys there as well. In the next shot, we see Rhaenyra and Alicent giving each other icy stares. We also see Criston Cole in the background. So if you can't tell, these two do not like each other. The court gets kind of split into two factions, the Greens and the Blacks. The Blacks would consist of Rhaenyra's supporters and the Greens of Alicent's. The reason for the colors is because the color of House Targaryen is red and black, and House Hightower's colors are green and gold. We then see a young Daemon Targaryen. We know this because of his short hair. He gets thrown down by some members of the Kingsguard. It's hard to say what this could be from. Daemon is known as the Rogue Prince. He gets into a lot of mischief. In the next shot, we see Sir Criston Cole beating the crap out of someone. It's hard to say who though. We see onlookers in the background horrified by what's happening. In the next shot, we see blood oozing from someone's hands, and then we see Daemon and Rhaenyra Targaryen. From the hands, we see that they are wrapped in some kind of fabric. We have seen similar things in Game of Thrones when characters got married. It's called the hand fasting ceremony. So I believe this is the wedding of Daemon and Rhaenyra. They both look pretty happy. I'm not sure what the significance of the blood is. I would guess it has something to do with a Targaryen tradition. In the next shot, we return to where Otto and Daemon are having a standoff, and things seem to have escalated, and Daemon draws his sword and the gold cloaks follow suit. Daemon wields the weapon Dark Sister, one of the famed Valyrian steel blades of House Targaryen. In the next shot, we see Alicent Hightower try to stab Rhaenyra with the Valyrian steel dagger Catspaw, which may sound familiar because it was the dagger we saw Arya use to kill the Night King. In the background, we see Harold Westerling, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, try to stop this. We then see Rhaenyra's face. She clearly has been crying, so something must have happened to cause this. Also, why is Alicent trying to stab her? It's hard to know without knowing if other characters are still alive at this point or not. And in the final scene, we see Daemon Targaryen lurking around in the dark, and he is met by dragon fire. So Daemon is at the dragon pit where dragons are held. Why he is here, it's hard to say. I don't think this is his Mount Caraxes, which I'm probably mispronouncing. He looks too small to me. He could be looking for an egg, which we saw throughout the trailer. There was a voiceover during this part as well, saying, "History does not remember blood. It remembers names." So more of the legacy thing we got earlier in the trailer. The trailer looks great. I'm super excited for this. August 21st literally cannot come soon enough. So what do you think of the trailer? Did I miss anything? Leave it down in the comments below. And if you want more House of the Dragon content, please subscribe and like the video. Check out the Twitter link in the description below. And as always, have an awesome day.